Welcome to Yoga Hour. My name is Brittany, and the word of the day is perfection. I chose perfection as my word of the day because I often struggle with not being perfect. I have extremely high expectations of myself and those around me, and I have redone this recording so many times. And I had a different word of the day, and then I thought, my word of the day just needs to be perfection, because that's what I'm striving for, and yet I will never ever get there in this lifetime. So I chose to change my word of the day to perfection as a lesson for myself, as a reminder that I will not be perfect. I will mess up. You will mess up. We are all human, and it's okay. It is okay not to be perfect. I invite you to consider the areas of your life that you might be a little bit of a perfectionist. If you aren't, congratulations. You're free from your own personal pressure. If you do struggle with that, I invite you to just take a deep breath and shift your focus on things that are going well for you. Shift your focus on things that you have accomplished, that you have done well, that if you woke up in the morning and got out of bed, that's great. It doesn't have to be perfection every day. And when we're on our mats, perfection is certainly not the goal. The goal is to practice. The goal is to live in our bodies and move and breathe and allow the flow of oxygen, the flow of blood to rejuvenate us. It's to stretch, it's to strengthen. It's not to achieve perfection. On that note, I will say here that I have two beautiful cats who are out on my balcony right now, and that is why my door is cracked. So if you see a little furry visitor, the long-haired one is Stella, and the short-haired one is Millie. So with that, Stella. Stella is perfection to me, and Millie too. So I invite you to enjoy practice. Don't worry about being perfect. Don't worry if you can't fit into every pose. Don't worry if you need to modify a pose. This practice is for you. It is not for the goal of perfection. So take a comfortable seat and place your palms on your thighs, or you can place your palms at heart center, and close your eyes or gaze softly at the ground. We're going to begin with one round of the sound Om, which is said to be a neutralizing sound and is very much a grounding sound for me, especially when done in a room full of people. So if you're with other people right now, you're lucky. Inhale for Om. Lower your hands, open your eyes, and come on to hands and knees. Arms, upper legs straight up and down, knees below hips and wrists below shoulders. Separate your fingers evenly, grip the floor with your fingerprints, and with an inhale, curve your back. Round your back like a cat. Exhale. Inhale. And on your next inhale, drop your belly and lift your head up for cow pose. In cow pose, tone your abdomen, send your hips up toward the ceiling, and look up. Exhale into cat. And inhale for cow. Do that one more time with your own breath. And from here, place your palms forward about a handprint and a half. Curl your toes under, keep your knees bent, and send your hips up for downward facing dog. In your first down dog, you want to make sure your knees are bent so that your low back can curve. You want the curve in your low back, and then you can pedal out your feet, walk out your down dog. Once you feel complete in that, rock forward into a plank position, top of a push-up. You may stay here, hold plank. You may lower your knees for half plank, or you can do 1 to 5 push-ups. In this position, continue to breathe. If your legs are straight and you're holding plank, tone your thighs, tighten your kneecaps, engage your glutes, and tone your abdomen. Press the floor away from you with your hands. On your next exhale, lower down. And place your arms alongside your torso with your palms pointing up. Point your feet, lift your kneecaps off the ground, look ahead, and then with your next inhale, lift your chest and squeeze your shoulders together on your back. Press your hands and feet into the mat. This is called Locust 1. Exhale, lower down. Frame your hands in front of you. Curl your toes under again, up through plank, back into downward facing dog. From here, send your right leg up and back with your inhale, and as you exhale, step through for a lunge. Now we're going to go into down dog lunge. In this position, take your right arm and fold it inside your right leg, and then place your right hand in front of your right foot and your left hand beside it, about shoulder width apart. And fold forward inside your front leg and stretch your hands forward as you do so. So send your hips up and back and round forward into the down dog lunge. And take a breath. Exhale. As you inhale, step back into down dog. Exhale, inhale, lift your left leg up and back. Not going for perfection here. Exhale, step through for your lunge. Again, place your left arm inside your front leg. Place your left hand about a foot in front of your left foot. Right hand beside it, shoulder width apart. And round your back and sink into your down dog lunge. Inhale and exhale. Step back to down dog. And then lower your knees and have a seat. We're going into reverse table. So place your feet in front of your hips, about a foot apart. Place your hands behind you about a foot, and point your thumbs out toward the edge of your mat and your fingers straight back. Now, from here, we're gonna lift our hips and tone our abdomen, squeezing our thighs in together. If you have a block, this would be a great time to place it between your legs. And on your next exhale, lower down and come into mountain pose in the middle of your mat. Hands out in front of you. I'm going to turn to the side. Palms facing in. Bend your knees. Sit back onto your heels. You can stay here and work on the strength in your hamstrings, or you can round your back like we did in cat and sit back even more. And the goal is to bring your forehead toward your knees. Don't forget to breathe. Inhale, come back up to standing. And lift your arms overhead. Palms together. Inhale up for crescent. And when you exhale, lean your body to one side and send your hips to the other side. You should feel a nice stretch in your side body. Press your feet down evenly, tone your thighs, engage your glutes, tone your abdomen, and come back to center. Inhale, stretch up, and then exhale to the opposite side. Again, make sure your feet are pressing down evenly. Tone those thighs, tone your abdomen. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, lower your arms down for mountain pose as a pose. Lift your toes and spread them out evenly. Rock forward onto the front of your feet and then backward onto the back of your feet. And don't worry about the words. Perfection's just not happening. Inhale, back up for, what is this called? This is called mountain arms overhead. Can you believe it? Exhale, lower down, and all the way down. Forward fold. In your forward fold, you don't want to keep your legs straight. To protect your low back, curve, bend your knees, and drape your torso over your thigh. Place your hands on the floor outside your feet, and let your head hang low. It doesn't matter how bent your knees are, you just want your ribs and thighs connected. Inhale, come up, and come back into a plank position. Plank position, check out your hands. Are they shoulder width apart or wider? Are your fingers separated evenly? Index fingers pointing straight ahead? You want a slight curve in your back? And again, you can always take this pose on your knees. If you're in a plank position, lower down onto your belly and send your arms back behind you again. This time, we're not gonna do locust 1, we're gonna do locust 2, which means our hands and feet are not gonna stay on the floor, they're also gonna come up. So, to prepare, point your feet, lift your kneecaps, tone your thighs, engage your glutes, look straight ahead, squeeze your shoulders together on your back. With your next inhale, lift everything but your hips off the floor. Keep your shoulders squeezing together on your back. Tone everything. Breathe. And exhale, lower down. This time, place your forearms on the floor in front of you and interlace your hands. Curl your toes under and send your hips up for forearm plank. Just a little bit lower plank. No big deal. Again, you can lower your knees to the ground if you need to for extra support. If you want more of the challenge, keep them lifted. One more round of breath. And place your palms up into a regular plank, and then send your hips up for downward facing dog. Inhale, your right leg up and back. Exhale, step through for a lunge. This time we're gonna do twisted lunge. Take your left arm out in front of you and bring it around outside your right leg. From here, place your palms in prayer position to the side, top elbow pointing straight up, and look over to the right side. Keep your back leg straight and strong, or lower it and place the top of your foot on the floor. We're going for a nice twist in our abdomen here. So if your back leg is lowered, lift it, move your hands to frame your front foot, step back into down facing dog, and lift your left leg up and back. For three-legged dog, exhale, send it through for a lunge, extend your right arm out in front of you, move your right elbow outside your left leg, place your palms together, prayer position, and feel that twist in your abdomen. Always breathe. Exhale, lower down, and come back into a seat. We're gonna do reverse table again. This time it's gonna have a little challenge, if you want. We're not going for perfection, so you don't have to if you don't want to. So, if you'd like to just do a reverse table, place your palms back behind you, thumbs out to the side, fingers behind you, and place your feet on the floor in front of your hips, about a foot away. Inhale, send your hips up, reverse table. If you want to go for the challenge, it's reverse table, one leg lifted. All right, so inhale, send your right leg or your left leg up, point your foot, extend your foot out, don't let your hips drop. Exhale, lower down. Second side, inhale, lift up, breathe, keep your hips lifted and level. Exhale, lower down. Whew, that one's a good one. Come back to standing. Interlace your fingers behind your back for power pose, hands bound. Make a U shape with your hands bend your elbows, squeeze your shoulders together on your back. If you can keep your shoulders together on your back, straighten your arms. Bend your knees, stay here, or round your back and send your arms vertical toward the ceiling. Sit back onto your heels, tone your thighs, tone your abdomen, and exhale, release. Come back to standing. For tree pose, you have a couple of options. You can rest your lifted leg on the floor like a kickstand if you're working on balance right now and you're not feeling too steady with that. Use it as a kickstand. You can do your arms out to the side, up in the air, however you would like to tree. In prayer position, that's fine too. So here's one option. Second option, if you want to work on a little bit of balance but you want to be closer to the floor, place your foot on your calf. The key here is you cannot place your foot on your knee because it's not safe. So if you want to place your foot on your calf, you can, or hold the inner edge of your foot and place it at the root of your inner thigh. I'm starting with my right leg, placing at the root of my left inner thigh. Make sure my toes are pointing straight down to the ground, and then turn we talked about me for a second, I'm going back to you. Turn your right leg out to the side. Inhale, lift your arms up for the most challenge. If you need a little bit more stability, you can hold your arms out or in prayer position or keep them on your hips. Exhale, lower down, second side. Either kickstand, calf, not knee, or place your heel at the root of your inner thigh. From here, turn your left thigh out to the side. If you fall out, don't worry, you can always come back in. So left knee out to the side, press your foot into your thigh into your foot, tone your abdomen and press down into the floor. Arms up overhead, arms out to the side, be a wavy tree, whatever works for you. And exhale, lower down, back into mountain pose. Lift your toes, spread them, place them back on the floor, rock forward and backward onto your feet till you find the middle position. Steady and strong, like a mountain. Inhale, arms up, mountain overhead, stretch up. And as you exhale, dive down to forward fold. Again, in forward fold, bend your knees so that your ribs and thighs stay connected. If you can keep your legs straight with your ribs and thigh connected, that's great. Tone your thighs, tighten your kneecaps. Press the floor down away from you. On your next inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, come all the way up for mountain, arms overhead. And exhale, arms to side. Turn to face the front of your mat again. Come down onto hands and knees or plank position. Again, stay here, or if you want more of a challenge, you can turn your feet so that the tops of your toes are on the ground. Feet pointed. Tone your abdomen, tighten your thighs, squeeze them in together. Exhale, lower down. Now we're going to go into cobra, legs lifted. Again, point to your feet, lift your kneecaps, squeeze your thighs in, and place your hands outside of your lowest ribs with your elbows bent behind you. Lift your head and look straight ahead. Inhale, lift your chest and your feet at the same time. Point your feet, keep your thighs toned. Exhale, lower down. Place your hands in front of you, curl your toes under, back into downward facing dog. From here, bend your knees and walk your hands back to your feet. Come into mountain pose at the back of your mat. Turn your left toes out to face the front corner of your mat. Step your right foot forward so that you're sort of in a lunge. Bend your front knee and square your hips. So that means move your right hip back, your left hip forward. Keep that back heel on the ground. If it's not staying on the ground, Try to widen your stance. Try to shorten your stance. Whatever works to keep that back heel on the ground. You want your back leg toned and strong. So once your hips are square, inhale, lift your arms overhead, place your palms together, bend your front knee a little bit more, and arch your back. Lift your chin away from your chest, and breathe. Tone your abdomen, move your ribs back. Exhale, lower down. Back into downward facing dog. Bend your knees again, walk back. Second side, we're gonna turn our right toes out. You can turn them a little bit past the top corner of your mat if that wasn't enough last time. And then step your left foot forward. Bend your front knee, turn your right hip forward, send your left hip back so that your hips are square. Make sure that your back heel is on the floor. Inhale, lift your arms up, place them together. Sit a little bit deeper in that front knee if you can. And you want a slight back bend in your back. So look up towards the ceiling. Exhale, lower down. This next position is one of my favorites. It's called Garland One. Garland One. So you're going to come into a crouching position where your heels are off the ground. Widen your knees so that you can fold your torso inside. And then stretch your arms forward and relax the weight of your head in between your arms. Sit back on your heels even more to feel that stretch in your back. Always breathe. Come on up and have a seat. Extend your legs out in front of you. Point your toes toward the ceiling and place your hands right outside of your hips. Curve your low back in, lift your chest, tone your abdomen. That's it. This is staff pose. Super easy. Now that our break's over, interlace your hands behind your head and move your elbows in towards your head a little bit. Lean back and lift your feet off the floor. Point your feet and use your abdomen muscles to hold you here in boat pose, and breathe. And then place your feet on the floor. I'm sorry, that was half boat, not full boat. Half boat. All right, back into staff pose. Now place your hands behind you again. Thumbs pointing out toward the side of your mat, fingers right behind you. This time point your feet. You can stay here or press your feet down into the floor as you lift your hips for east stretch. Press the floor away from you. Keep your abdomen toned, glutes engaged. Exhale, lower down. And now scoot your butt forward a little bit and lie back down on your back for bridge pose. For bridge, you have two options. So the end goal of bridge is this, okay? So you can either hold the outer edge of your mat and pull it to lift yourself up, or one at a time, walk your shoulders underneath your back, lift your hips slightly to interlace your fingers, press your shoulders, arms, elbows, wrists down, and lift your hips. In this pose, tone your thighs and squeeze them in toward the midline. Press your feet down, press the back of your head down, lift your chin out of your chest, and lower down. We're gonna go from here into leg lifts, so you can stay on your backs. Lift your feet vertical so that your toes are over your eyes, and with your inhale, actually let's set up first. So place your arms underneath your hips so that you have room to do this, or you can interlace your fingers behind your back if you want more of a challenge. I like to place my arms underneath my hips. So lift your feet up, inhale. As you lower down, hover off the ground, and exhale to come back up. Let's do that a couple more times at our own pace. can hear the sound of the crickets outside, and it's so nice. Fall is officially here, but I still hear crickets, so I'm gonna stick in summer mode for a little bit longer. All right, and lower down. And we're gonna come back up into a wide stance. Now, a wide stance equals wrists above ankles. So check and make sure that your ankles are directly below your wrists, and then move your heels out slightly until they are the widest part of your pose. Now, you're gonna take your right toes and turn them out 90 degrees. Take your right knee and bend it over your right ankle. You want your thigh parallel or close to parallel to the mat and your knee directly over your ankle. Extend your arms out, press your feet down evenly. Check to see if your front heel is in line with your back arch. And then look to the right once it is. And as you exhale, can you sit a little bit deeper in your warrior two? On your next inhale, straighten your leg, turn your feet back to parallel, and swing your arms back and forth to rest your shoulders. All right, now make sure that your right heel is slightly wider than your little pinky toe, and then turn your left foot out 90 degrees. Bend your knee and sit your knee over your ankle. Tilt your knee out slightly, so it's more leaning towards your pinky toe, and extend your arms apart, look to the left, hold it straight and strong. Back thigh toned, back glute engaged. Exhale, can you sit one more place lower? And then inhale, come up, turn your feet back to normal. And then step to the back of your mat, facing the long edge. We're gonna go into warrior three. So for this position, point your arms out in front of you, close your fingers, point your palms in. Take your right foot, step it to the middle of your mat. Bend your knee slightly, and as you're folding your torso over your thigh, see if you can lift your back leg. If not, it's totally fine to stay here. It's okay. If you would like to go for the full pose, you might want to start with a bent standing leg. This will help you to reach the full stretch. Once you receive that, you can straighten your standing leg. Just make sure your thigh is toned and your kneecap is tightened. Once you're done, come out, step to the back of your mat, arms in front again. We're going for the second side. So bend, step your left foot forward, bend your knee slightly, hinge at your hips, and send your right leg back behind you. And see if you can stretch your arms and legs in opposite directions. Once you've achieved that, you can straighten your standing leg, just tone your thigh, tighten your kneecap. And if you fall out, it's great. It's part of the fun. If you're still in it, take one more exhale and come back to standing. And then come to the middle of your mat. From here, we're gonna go into power pose. So inhale, send your arms up overhead. Exhale, I'm gonna turn to the side so you can see me. Exhale, bend your knees. This time, instead of folding like we have been, we're gonna try to go against that and keep our torso as straight as possible. That's gonna be kind of difficult with your knees bent, so give yourself some grace. Sit back on your heels as much as comfortable. Send your arms up straight ahead, and you should see a nice curve. Well, actually, unless you have eyes in the back of your head, you probably won't see it, but maybe you have a neighbor and they can see it. They'll tell you, there's a curve. All right, humor is not my forte, so bear with me on that. All right, come to the middle of your mat, face forward, bend your knees. We're going into eagle pose. For this pose, take your right leg, lift it up over your left. You can use your right foot as a kickstand. You can practice balance and just cross your right over your left, or you can double wrap. Take your arms, swing your right arm underneath your left, and hug yourself first. I always do this. This isn't the end goal of the pose, but I always stop to hug myself. Place the backs of your palms together if you want to go further, or the front of your palms together. And you may wiggle a little bit, and that's okay. It's all part of the practice. Just make sure that you're breathing. And then slowly unravel. Bend your knees. Take your left leg over. Again, you can use your left foot as a kickstand, or you can lift it off the ground, or you can double wrap. Take your arms out to the side. Swing your left arm underneath your right this time. Give yourself a nice hug again. And then you can place the backs of your hands together or your palms together so you're super wrapped. Turn to the side. And the goal here is to try to get your shoulders above your hips with your knee bent. So you want your back straight. And then unravel. And we're going to try half moon. For this pose, you might need a block. If you have a block, hold it in your right hand. Step at the back of your mat. Step your right foot forward to the middle of your mat, and then place your right hand on the block or the earth about a foot in front of your right foot. You're going to lean forward and lift your left leg, and this is called half moon. Now, from your leg being lifted, see if you can open your hips so that they're stacked on top of each other. This might be really difficult, and that's okay. They don't have to be completely stacked. Doesn't have to be perfect. If you can do that, you can send your left arm up and stack your shoulders. Half moon. Exhale, come out. If you have a block, place it in your left hand. Step your left foot to the middle of your mat. Place your hand about 1.5 feet in front of your foot on the floor or a block. I recommend a block. I don't have one, but actually I do. I bought a whole box of blocks. I just haven't unpacked them. So lift your back leg. You want your shoulder above your wrist, whether it's on the block or the floor. And if you can, open up your hips to stack them, and then open up your shoulder and fall out. Falling is fun. All right, and then come back to standing. From here, we're going to step forward into a lunge, lower our back foot. It doesn't matter which foot you do first. We're going to do both sides. So from here, you want to sit your hips toward your front knee. Place your top of foot on the floor, the one that's behind you. And extend your arms up overhead and inhale and lean back as you sit into your front hip. And breathe. And exhale, frame your front foot. Curl your back toes under, lift your back knee, step back into plank pose. Now see if you can take your opposite leg and just place it in between your hands. It may take a few steps to get there, and that's great. Lower your back knee, top of foot to the floor. Inhale, lift your arms up overhead, and see if on your exhale, you can bend into your front knee a little bit more and lean back a little bit. Breathe. Exhale, lower down. Gotta keep my notes with me. Curl your back toe under, lift up, send your front foot back into plank position. From here, bend your knees, and we're gonna go into sideways child's pose. So, regular child's pose is arms in front with legs underneath. Sideways child's pose, sit on your feet. If this is uncomfortable, please sit on a block. And then inhale, lift your arms overhead. Tone and twist to the left. And then exhale, lower down. And you will feel an amazing side stretch in your left side body. Don't overdo it. If this feels too much, come back closer to center. Lower your head and breathe. Inhale, come up. Again on the second side. Inhale, arms overhead. Turn to the opposite side. Tone your abdomen and lower your body. Lower your torso and your arms to the floor. Press the floor away from you while you relax the weight of your head and feel that nice stretch in the other side body. Breathe into it. Inhale, come up. From here, we're going to go into cow face forward fold. So for cow face, have a seat on your bottoms. Take your right leg and cross it over your left with your foot on the floor. Now take your left foot and bring it back beside your right hip. The goal here is you want your knees on top of each other, as close to that as possible. So take the foot, your right foot that's flat on the floor, turn it to the side and tuck it back behind you so that your knees are on top. From here, inhale, lift the top of your head as if you're being held by a string. Stella was just running with a toy, that was funny. And exhale, lower down. Breathe. Nice quad stretch. Inhale, come back to center. And now we're going to switch our legs. So send your right leg out, left leg out. Take your left leg, cross it over your right, plant your foot on the floor. Take your right leg and move it out beside you. Now with that flat foot, turn it on its side and move it back towards your opposite hip. So if it's your left foot, it's outside of your right hip and vice versa. Try to stack your knees. Inhale, curve your low back in. Exhale, send your torso and your arms out in front of you and fold forward. And breathe. Inhale, come up. And then turn to face the short edge of your mat and lie down on your back for a reclined bowing sage. In this pose, you're going to take your left foot first, place it in front of your left hip, and then take your right toe, your right big toe, and wrap your first two fingers and thumb of your right hand around it. Lean your head back and stay here if you would like to, if it's too much of a stretch for you to straighten your leg. Otherwise, straighten your leg and pull your foot just a little bit towards your right shoulder. You might want to keep a micro bend in your knee to protect it from hyperextending. And exhale, lower down. Inhale, lift your left leg. Wrap your first two fingers and thumb around your left foot with your right foot on the floor in front of your right hip. Stay here or straighten your leg to capacity. It doesn't have to be fully straight. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can be, this is perfect actually. I think that imperfections can definitely be perfect. I have perfect imperfections. I'm gonna start saying that. All right, and lower down, carefully release. All right, from that position, we are going to go into pretty much an opposite position. We're gonna go into bow pose. So come onto your bellies, and from here, bend your knees. In bow pose, separate your knees a little bit wider than your hips. Bring your ankles together. I lied. You're not gonna bring your ankles together. You're gonna bring your hands to your ankles. Clasp your hands around your ankles, flex your feet, flare your toes. Lift your chin and look forward. Stay here, or with an inhale, Use the strength in your legs to lift your legs and kick your feet back to straighten your arms. Squeeze your thighs in to protect your low back, but they don't need to touch. You're just squeezing them in towards each other. And take another inhale. Exhale, lower down. To counter that, actually this is another back bend. This is not to counter that. We're all kinds of perfect up in here. Move your hands back to your low ribs. Separate your fingers evenly. And inhale, lift up, send your elbows straight behind you. Squeeze your shoulders together on your back. Point your feet, tone your thighs, and your kneecap should lift off the floor. This pose is called not up dog. We were supposed to do up dog. That's okay. We're doing another cobra. Exhale, lower down. Lift up. Come into mountain pose. Arms straight by your side. Lift your toes. Separate them evenly. Plant them back on the floor. And when you take your next exhale, lower down. This is called feet to hand pose. So lift one foot if you can. You can always keep your legs bent to make this pose more doable, but insert your hand underneath your foot one at a time. And from here, round your back. You can bend your knees if that's comfortable. If you would prefer to straighten them, you may do so. And feel that nice stretch all through the backs of your legs and your back. And release carefully. And come back onto your backs for upward bow. Here is where we're going to do the counter to bow. So place your feet in front of your hips, toes pointing straight ahead. Place your hands back behind you. Place your hands outside of your ears. Elbows pointing straight up. With your next inhale, push everything but your hands and feet off the ground. It's very important here that you squeeze your thighs in towards each other and that you're lifting your hips. Take a deep breath. And with your next exhale, carefully come out, back onto your backs. From here, take your right foot, place it on the top of your left thigh, and then let your feet fall down over to the right. Extend your arms out to the side and look over to the left. This is called double diamond. You have like a nice diamond shape that you make with your feet and your legs. Inhale, come back to center and switch. Place your left foot on top of your right thigh and gently fold over to the left. And then turn your head and look over to the right. Breathe. And bring your feet back to center. From here, bend your legs, bend your knees, and put your feet up in the air. Grab the outside of your feet, but place your arms on the inside of your leg. This is called happy baby. In this pose, flex your feet, make sure the soles of your feet are pointing towards the ceiling, and use your arms to pull your thighs closer to your chest, and use your feet to press your hands away from your thighs. So it's an opposing action here. You might want to rock side to side, massage your low back, and exhale, lower down. We're going to do one more pose before Shavasana, and that's reclined child's pose. So I know I told you to put your feet down, but now you're going to lift them, bring your knees in towards your chest. Now's your opportunity to give yourself another hug, real hug, and roll side to side on your low back. This is our last pose before Shavasana. So if there's any other pose you need to take to complete your practice, please do so now. Otherwise, spend some time giving yourself another hug. Remind yourself that this year is not about perfection. This year is about loving each other and loving ourselves and loving our animals. I heard one come to the door, but then she decided not to come inside. Okay, and as you feel complete, extend your legs out in front of you. Let your arms fall to the side, palms facing up, and completely surrender your weight to the earth that is there to support you. You've done it. You've gone through a yoga practice today. Your body is thanking you. Breathe. Rest and receive the benefits of practice. Begin to deepen your breath. Wiggle your fingers and toes. On your next inhale, bring your knees up towards the ceiling. Place your feet on the floor in front of your hips and roll over to one side. Pause. And then we'll roll over a little bit more. Place your hands on the floor in front of you and come up into a seated position. We will end practice the same way we began, with one round of the sound Om. Inhale for Om. Take a moment to honor yourself, each other, this path and practice, and all those who practiced before us. I hope that you're able to extend yourself some grace and not put yourself in a place of achieving perfection, but you're able to just be soft and love each other. Thank you for practicing.